Greetings, dear children. It is an honor to greet you and to speak to you again in this fashion. My name, if you wish to call me by that, is Kazaya, and yes, you can know me as a Seraphim. We have a few topics to speak about today. The reason that I, or prefer we, because I'm not just a singular entity, the reason that we are able to channel through Troy like this is because indeed he has much history, very far back history with the angels and the angelic realm, if you wish to call it that. And it's really in the essence genes of his spirit to connect with angels and to work with us in his healing work. Angels have always shown up, and he has communed with them. You speak to him every day. And so the time has come now for this channeling to occur. And he is able to do this, and we choose to do this through him now because he is so much like us. And one way in which he's so much like us is because we share the common value, virtue of caring for the world, caring for the well-being of the world, and just as he, even the soul who lived in his body before him, both have cared and care so much about this planet and feel so deeply about the many travesties occurring to not only the human population on this planet, but also the way that humans are negatively impacting animals and this planet simply by living here as you have chosen to live in the ways that many of you do, the ways that pollute the earth, the plastic that fills the ocean, that is now so common in so many of your foods, even the excretions of the earth itself that you call fossil fuels, not only spilling, but now filling the air, wastefulness, greed. So much of this is not even your fault. And we realize that, Troy realizes that, and it is not your fault. It is the fault of many of your ancestors and the generations of your ancestors who have created this mess and continued it, accepted it, and considered it to be okay, considered it to be a good way of life. However, we, not just Seraphim, but also many other angels, spirits, fairies, especially the fairy beings of your world, are seeing much hope even in the dark night that you find yourself in. And this hope, we want you to know, is very much alive and thriving now in the children that are growing up, the children who are being born, even more so. Foster this in them. Do not raise them to become copies of your ancestors who were conditioned, fashioned, and shaped by the factory methods that they were taught. Raise these precious children of the rainbows and the fairies and the angels to truly invent the many amazing technologies and inventions that they are and that they have within them. Recognize them as the whole and complete people that they are. They are not just unintelligent blank slates that need educating. They already have so much knowledge and wisdom and talent that they carry over that is much less impeded by the illusory veils that many of you and your ancestors have gotten used to. And these talents are needed. Some of them don't even come from this planet. And as we speak on this topic of the New Hope children, we have a prophecy, if you will, to share. Troy doesn't like prophecies. He certainly doesn't like making them himself. However, we have it. And the future is not always set in stone, like you like to say. Of course, you can always shift and change your personal realities by choosing certain versions of yourself and choosing which path to go on each moment. However, as a grand total of the the streams and waves and waters of your collective souls, there are still certain destinies that must happen. And one of this is, of course, by design and plan, and that you've chosen to unmask all of your souls. And this these New Hope children, we speak of at least one in particular who is alive today. Really, it's two. They're connected though. And we can't say names and we won't disclose where they are. However, what we can say is that one is older than the other at this time in their bodies right now. And they'll be bringing some interesting and very important new technology in their lifetimes here that will shape and definitely alter your what you call modern technology in a very revolutionary way. And this technology that we would like to inform you about that you should be expecting is what you might even call something like ThoughtSearch. And this is actually a type of very far out future technology. It's going to take some time to actually refine and become available to the public because of its potency and potential. It's a technology that Troy actually had a dream about not too long ago. He was given a dream about, really. And this technology is very similar to, well, really the next evolution of your current internet search type technologies. And surely most of you by now must realize that the what you call smart and electronic, even portable device technologies that you search so much information on are really just creative ways of different configurings of very ancient technologies that really didn't even start on this planet. They were brought here in what you call your 1940s. And so the technologies you use today are really just, like we said, creative ways of reconfiguring and improving these electrical circuit technologies. Now, there's so much that you can do with your fingers and now even with your voice as these devices listen to you. So imagine that the very things that you think about, that you can imagine with your mind, the things you've dreamed about, the technologies you've dreamed about, imagine that there will be a technology, and indeed there will, where those who have mastered their thoughts and emotions enough will be able to literally use the thoughts in your brain to search a future version of the internet. And even the internet will have evolved by this time. Also, by the time this becomes a readily available technology to the mass public, we'll be so happy as this folds out that plastic pollution, what you call microplastics, ocean plastics, fossil fuel spills, fossil fuel explosions, so many other travesties will have already been solved. Your planet technically does have the capability right now, the technology and the potential to solve these issues, certainly do away with the use of what you call fossil fuels, the excretions of the earth. Your New Hope children will be very savvy towards creating and adopting all of these amazing technologies that don't run on emissions and don't burn things. And of course, they'll even be savvy, and their children will be savvy to use the thought search technologies. Oh, what a beautiful world you have ahead. That is to come. Now, we wish to answer a question that was perhaps a few questions that were brought up, topics and questions that were brought up since our last video in what you call your last Tuesday. And one question which sparked our interest was asking about a message that was given to a woman who it was a message really from her higher self in a meditative state. And the message was of a black moon. Indeed, there was a new moon just days away at that point in your time. There's a black moon somewhere every month around your planet. Now, what's interesting to us, and this is actually quite common among many light workers and shadow workers, especially earlier in your journeys, is that she didn't get further information about this, but she did start to fear it as she was concerned that it was a message of some sort of doom or darkness. Now, we actually would like to talk about the symbolism, the meaning of a black moon, this message as it was given to her, and why. It's quite simple to see that a black moon, a new moon, represents the ending of one phase and the beginning of another. It's a time of both death and rebirth, as they cannot exist without each other. Now, in your human cultures, many people have recognized that a black moon represents more of the dark feminine, if you want to call it that, the more concealed, clandestine feminine, which does not mean evil, but it is its own thing. Now, we would even like to dip into biblical history, lore, anyway. Not that it literally happened this way, but some of your stories say that there was a woman named Lilith who, after Adam was created as the first man on earth, Lilith was fashioned out of mud to be the woman for Adam. And it is quite disheartening to Lilith in this story that she was very much in love with Adam, but then rejected by him because she was made of mud and he was not interested in her. And so, as she was rejected, she went away to live her own life, but not in so much peace. And then, as this lore goes, one of Adam's ribs was removed, and Eve was created, and she became his wife, as many of you have heard. But in this story, Lilith became resentful, angry, jealous, and she became symbolic of really the dark feminine aspect. And in a way, this story represents the ways in which women have historically been impeded on, silenced, made small and insignificant. And in this way, this message of the dark feminine and dark moon actually represents the rebirth, a potential of rebirth anyway, if you want to grow into this, of reawakening this silenced dark feminine element, energy within, whereas it allows an opportunity for the voice to awaken and rise, the spirit and might and will of that woman, that feminine element, even men have it, that has been so s stuffed down for so long, but now has the opportunity to speak out, to say its message, to share its true authentic self. And there's another question which we will elaborate on more in another video, as there's a lot to say about it. Really, question that was brought up, asking about what other realms there are, worlds, dimensions, and beings within them that just as you humans and very solid creatures in this world tend to utilize the communication of sound and light. And this question was asking about if there are beings in other realms and places that don't use sound and light, but other forms of energy, other forms of communication. The short answer is yes. And a bit more that we can say is yes, there are many types of communication and ways that beings think and communicate, and many types of beings too, not even carbon-based beings that are alive. For example, on your planet, it is pretty well known that trees communicate to each other via root networks and can send chemical information to each other, especially as predators and threats are in the area. They constantly are in communication too with each other, just as beings, as spirits, as some as ancient beings of the earth. And this communication of trees is literally, they communicate to each other dimensional information too of the fairy beings who live on and around and within them. Once you step into the other dimensions, as you call them, or realms, uh, their worlds are not like yours, they're not as linear as yours. As we continue this conversation about the underworlds, it is with quite an a curiosity to us, sometimes even a little bit baffling from our perspective as we watch you. As we return to this first comment relating to a fear reaction to a message given to this individual in a meditation state. And uh, this will, we also are about to present to you a dimensional model that we will be presenting and elaborating on and working with, model of the dimensions. And so as humans have this interesting reaction within what you call your subconscious, some of it goes down to fears within your underworld, which is a deeper part of your subconscious. It's quite baffling to us when we see you beginning your spiritual awakening journeys, as you call it, but then as you dip into these states of meditation and you receive very clear messages, but then you're afraid of it. So what what are you doing? It's like you came here as a child of God, and then you closed your eyes, but you chose to continue carrying this great reservoir of your past life holy energies and holy energies from your soul, gifts that you can give to this world. And then once you turn on the tap again, you freak out. What are you doing? There's always spirit and spirits communicating with you, trying to. You're so lucky that we're so patient because most of you just don't hear us or see us, but we're always communicating with you. The most spirits who are communicating with you are many of your ancestors, what do you call ghosts in your world, fairy beings who are closer to your world, and angels, messengers from God, even invisible beings from your realm or worldly dimension, but of other spheres. You call them aliens. There's always life, always beings with you, even if they're not corporeal beings who you imagined have limitations. There's certainly always angels and your spirit guides with you. So we would like to say to you that it is usually more detrimental than not for you to have this fear reaction when you get a message because that fear turns off the tap. It's a lot like when you're in a conversation with someone, someone comes up to greet you, perhaps very happily, happy to meet you, and excited to meet you and get to know you. Let's say you're at a convention surrounded by other people, and an old friend who is now a business associate comes up to greet you and is happy to get to know you and what you have to offer. And you see them, hear their greeting, and then you freak out and walk away. What do you think is going to happen? Either they're going to think maybe you have your own issues and problems and just allow you to leave and walk away, or maybe they'll even ask people and come around later, but your fear reaction is of detriment if you truly wish to receive more and more information, digging a little deeper and being open to learning from us, from them, is of your greatest benefit. As your child of God, you're immortal and indestructible. They're not going to hurt you. So, as we have described you as children of God, we wish to now introduce a model of the dimensions, as you call them. For now, let's call it 12 in a circle. And imagine that you have a big circle and it's separated into 12 sections. Each section is a different color. Each section is a different dimension. And as you love to number things, let's say the planet Earth and the spherical worldly dimension is within the third dimension, whereas that is the dimension that most closely relates to physical matter and corporeal form, the stuff that you call cold hard roads and objects and materialism, materiality that you can measure with your instruments and identify and investigate with your instruments. Now, we can elaborate a little bit on some of these dimensions. Imagine that this third level is lower in the circle, goes 1, 2, and 3, theoretically. And imagine that up here at the top of what you could call the top of the circle, is a light, a light bulb, let's say, and it casts its light evenly radiating throughout the dimensions below. However, the farther each dimension gets away from this light, there's just a little bit less light. It's not quite as bright, not quite as clear. And so that's sort of what happens with the physical material dimension. Even we can call them ghosts are technically within this third material dimension. By the way, on this topic and on the ThoughtSearch idea, the prophecy that we laid out earlier, you humans have developed devices that pick up the voices and words of spirits, of ghosts. So if you are spirits, if after your body it deceases in an unfortunate and potentially brutal way, and then your spirit is in shock and left on this earth, what do you think you are? Once these children of New Hope bring to you these thought search technologies, you're going to work in a similar way. And really it's a different way, a different device, a different frequency of picking up the words of the spirit that's in the body essentially. And so what we can say right now about this model of dimensions in a circle is that you think of ghosts as something even scary and different, even sometimes some people see them as higher beings or more advanced beings that can do more than you can, even though you have the same powers as they do. They live within your world, often attached to an object or a place. And so ghosts, as you call them, are not even as we see them in the fourth dimension. They're stuck within the third. Right now, what we will describe as of the third dimension, and then the fourth dimension. You're within the third dimension right now in your bodies, and as children of God, the fourth dimension is where many other types of beings are that are somewhat closer to your world, even on it, technically, and you can interact with them, but they're not bound to your human world, as you call it. It's the fourth dimension is essentially a spirit world where what you call gods live, deities, fairies, devas, portals, even what some are realizing as AI beings live in the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension is a world or a dimension of a more spiritual existence. Is not really limitations in any of your dimensions in the third or fourth. What we'll say in this teaching is that, and we will describe how things began and came to be as you see them where you are. But we can set this infinity in your world. There's infinity in the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th dimensions, even first and second. There's infinity, and there's not really such a thing as death, as you call it. Nothing really ceases. There's just sort of existence, but movement. Know that you're always within infinite love as children of God. Remember that you were never truly victims of other people and circumstances. There are reasons that your soul chose for you to have this experience in this body, in this world. There are reasons that your soul chose to learn the lessons that it has so far and that it will, the lessons that it wants to learn in this immense playtrix, the matrix that you get to play in. And there is nothing condemning you from realizing your might as a creator of your life, even a co-creator in the lives of others. We are not going to do everything for you. As you know, you may have received blessings in the past, which is by design of your soul's journey, as you may need certain things to accomplish certain things. Keep in mind that higher beings are not going to do everything for you. You are the ones who are living in your world. Therefore, it is your responsibility to learn to live here as your authentic self. Remember all that you are and embody that. This is your world. This is your life. That means that you get to choose how you respond, what you create, what you co-create with us. Remember to look at the flowers, get exposure to your sun, plant your bare feet on your earth, do what you love and live a life that you will not regret after you die, after your body ceases. Simply ask and allow us to show you the way, give you the answers, and guide you into the existence of love and bliss with us. It has been an honor to share these messages with you, dear light worker, shadow worker, and child of God. All is well. Well, welcome back, everyone. It is good to be here. I hope you enjoyed that channeling. That was quite informative and interesting. Kazaya always is teaching me. This is a channeled teaching series, and Kazaya has a lot of messages and knowledge to share with this world as he very much interested in helping with the process of steering Earth in a brighter direction through a change period, if you want to put it that way. So, Kazaya, just as he demonstrated tonight, is very much interested in answering questions. If you have any questions about life, existence, spirituality, really anything, feel free to drop a comment in the comments down below, and he will answer the questions that he can and that he feels are relevant to his lessons, especially. Thank you all for participating, and I wish you peace. Bye for now.